Right, so hey all, good afternoon and welcome to another session with me, Varun, on Ekagra. And in this session, we would be looking at the historical background of the formation of Indian Constitution. We've already seen two good videos on understanding the backdrop of how Indian Constitution was formed. So we started seeing videos from Government of India Act 1773 to Government of India Act 1919. Right now, it is time for us to look at Government of India Act 1935 and the Indian Independence Act 1947. I wanted to keep these two topics or these two acts separate because A, they are very long, and B, they've got a lot of provisions which can be confusing. So I wanted to make two different videos, one different video for these two acts. So we'll talk about these two acts in this video, right? And for all those of you who don't know me well, guys, my name is Varun. I work as a developer, and I'm also an aspirant like you, and I'm trying to clear my Group 1 or probably UPSC or probably some good guested officer exam someday, just like all of you. And I have seen a lot of channels on YouTube, but then I do not find, or probably I did not find channels which focus only on what is required, A, and B, languages which speak in good English or languages which speak in one particular language. It's become too common, like people talk Hindi, people talk Telugu, English, and everything, but then in these video series, I'm just trying to maintain one uniform language so that at least some targeted aspirants can get a bit closer to it. Now, to begin with, we would be looking at 1935 and 1947. So, the Government of India Act 1935, as we know, it is a material or it is a collection of four different sources. The first source is the report of Simon Commission. The second source is the discussion of Third Roundtable Conference. The third source is the White Paper of 1933. And finally, the reports of some joint select committees. All these reports together, and finally, some provisions of 1919 also were joined in order to come up with the Government of India Act 1935. Now, talking about Indian Independence Act 1947, this plan was given by Mountbatten on 3rd of June 1947, and it was passed by the British Parliament on 5th of July 1947. So it took them almost 2 months. It took them almost up to 1 month to get this cleared. And finally, within next 2 weeks, we see that it received its royal assent from the Queen, and India was finally divided into two dominion states, which is India and Pakistan. So now we look at each of them in detail. So talking about Government of India Act 1935 at first, we see abolition of provincial diarchy, which is no dual structure in provinces, and we see they have again introduced diarchy at center like Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, things like that. Then you see abolition of Indian Council and introduction of an advisory body. So Indian Council was totally removed, and an advisory body was brought in its place. Now this advisory body can only give advice; it cannot do anything else. Then we see provision of All India Federation, right, with British Indian territories and princely states. The supremacy of British Parliament is now lost. We see increase in the size of legislature, extension of franchise, division of subjects into three lists. So here we have three lists. That is, okay, what are the three lists, guys? Please write the name of the three lists in the comment section below. Now, for all those of you who don't remember, it is federal list, provincial list, and we have another list which is called concurrent list, right? Then we see separation of Burma from India and also establishment of one federal court. Now, this federal court had one CJI or one Chief Justice and not more than 6 judges. So it was totally a team of 7 people. Okay, special electorates were given for deprived classes, women, and labor. This is a very important point. It's not mentioned here. We also see Federal Public Service Commission and Joint Public Service Commission came in during 1935, but they were removed very early, right? Please remember these two names, Federal Public Service Commission and Joint Public Service Commission. We have already seen the point, that is abolition of diarchy at provinces. 3 lists were created, federal, which had 59 subjects, provincial, which had 54 subjects, and concurrent, which had 36 subjects. Guys, please remember the number also, as they are very, very important. The next one that we have is the Indian Independence Act 1947. This was an act that was that was looked forward to by each and every Indian. It could be a kid or it could be an adult. Everyone was waiting for India to get independent when we were under the British. Now, we see that the demarcation of boundary was done by Sir Cyril Radcliffe, right? And it provided for partition of Punjab and Bengal, and they wanted to form separate boundary commissions to demarcate the boundaries between them. Now here, Pakistan was given West Punjab and east of Bengal. Okay, they were given territories of Sindh, Northwest NWFP, which is Northwest Frontier Province, Sylhet Division of Assam, and Bawalpur, Khairpur, Baluchistan, and other 8 princely states of Baluchistan were completely given to Pakistan. Then we see the authority of British Crown over princely states ceased, and they were either free to join India or they could also remain with Pakistan. So it was basically their choice. They could decide where they wanted to go. And both the dominions of India and Pakistan were to have governor generals who would be appointed by the British king. The act also provided for one common governor, but then if they agreed. And here, as we know, both of the countries did not agree for a common governor for the countries. The next thing, or the next important feature of Indian Independence Act 1947 is the constituent assemblies of the states were free to make constitutions of their own for their own respective countries, which means India can have its own constitution and Pakistan can have its own constitution. For the time being, till the constitution was made, both of them were governed in accordance with the GoI Act 1935. So till both the countries could come up with a constitution of their own, it was decided that the Government of India Act 1935 would be followed. And if they want any provision to be added or removed or something like that, then it can be handled by Governor General and Governor General only. The British government would not continue to control any of the Indian dominion, which means that India is now free. We were no longer ruled by British. Right? The Governor General was invested with adequate powers until March 1948 to issue orders for effective implementation of provisions of Indian Independence Act 1947. So, if you wanted any changes with respect to Indian Independence Act 1947, the Governor General was given a lot of powers to handle for next 1 year. Right? He cannot come here and rule. He cannot come here and dictate terms to us, but then he can still, at any given point of time, he can come up with any order or something for them to change. And also it says that all the civil services, all the civil services employees or all the civil servants who have been appointed before the August of 1947, they would also continue to be in service. They would not be removed. Like, you can't just terminate people immediately just because you have independence, right? So that provision was still kept tight while everything else was changed. The Indian Independence Act 1947 actually brought good respite to a lot of people, and it has changed the way of how politics function, or probably how constitution should be abided for citizens. And from here we see India as a country had its own constitution. Probably it took time for us to develop and come up with our own constitution with all the features that are required for a flourishing country, but then today, after 50, 60, 70, 80 good years, we see that we are a self-surviving, self-sustainable country wherein law and order is not horrible. Though we have some issues with law and order, our law and order is definitely one of the strongest law and orders in the world. Right? So these are some things that I wanted you to know about 1935 and 1947. So next time you're going for your exam, guys, please keep these provisions in mind. Apart from these, you don't have anything else to actually look at. Though you would be given a lot of lot of points, these are the most important defining points that you should know before or when you go to an exam. The rest all, I'm pretty sure all aspirants and every person who's preparing should be having some knowledge on. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I also hope that you learned something new. And all those people, if you really liked watching, hit the like button to let us know that you enjoyed. And for any queries or comments or anything that you want to share, please use the comment section below, and please share this video to your friends, as I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people looking for some free video out there. All the best and have a great day ahead. This is me, Varun Rao, logging off.